The Chthorian queen's throne room smelled like copper and stone. I stood at the far end of the hall, hands clasped behind my back, trying not to stare at the towering figure before me. She was 11 feet tall, her exoskeleton gleaming black under the crystalline lights, her arms resting on the carved armrests of her seat. Her warriors lined the walls, silent and still as statues, their compound eyes tracking my every breath. I was there as a translator, nothing more. The human delegation had sent me because I had studied Chthorian customs for 3 years, and could parse their clicking language better than most. But the ambassador had fallen ill 2 days into the visit, and now I stood alone before Queen Veshkara, delivering humanity's formal trade proposal with a dry mouth and trembling fingers. She listened without moving. When I finished, she clicked once, sharp as a gunshot. "Your words are empty," she said in perfect English. "Your ambassador hides. You stand here, small and soft, pretending to speak for warriors." I swallowed. "The ambassador is recovering. I speak with his authority." "Authority?" Her mandibles twitched. "You do not even carry a weapon. I don't need one." The room went silent. Every warrior's posture shifted slightly, a ripple of tension moving through the guards, like wind through grass. I'd made a mistake. I knew it instantly. But the queen leaned forward. "Explain." I chose my words carefully. "Your strength is obvious, your majesty. I've read the histories. I know what your people have survived. 30 generations of war. A dying star. The exodus across 3 systems with half your fleet lost to the void. You rebuilt from ash. That's not the strength of claws or armor. That's the strength of will." She stared at me. Her secondary arms unfolded slowly from her sides. "You think words will impress me, human?" "No," I said. "But I think you know the difference between flattery and recognition." For 5 heartbeats, nothing moved. Then she stood, rising to her full height, and the warrior shifted again, hands moving to weapons. My pulse hammered in my ears. I'd overstepped. I'd insulted her. I'd just destroyed 3 months of diplomatic groundwork in 30 seconds. Queen Veshkara descended from the throne, each step deliberate, her claws clicking against the stone floor. She crossed half the distance between us and stopped. "Come closer," she said. I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to stay still, to bow, to apologize. But her gaze was fixed on me, unblinking, and I understood in that moment that this was a test. Not of my courage, of my honesty. I walked forward. 10 steps. Then 15. I stopped when I was close enough to see the scars along her carapace, the places where armor had cracked and healed thicker. She smelled like rain on hot stone. She lowered her head until her eyes were level with mine. "You fear me." "Yes. But you came closer. You asked me to." Her mandibles clicked softly, a sound I didn't recognize. "My daughter," she said, "is watching from the upper gallery. She is 7 seasons old. She has never seen a human before today." I didn't look up. I kept my eyes on the queen. "She asked me why you were so small," Veshkara continued. "I told her that humans were weak, that they broke easily, that their skin was thin and their bones were soft." She paused. "But you stood before me and spoke of strength as if you understood it." "I do understand it," I said quietly. "Strength isn't just survival. It's choosing to survive when everything tells you to stop." The queen's eyes narrowed. "My people were shaped by fire and vacuum. Yours were shaped by comfort and abundance. You know nothing of our suffering." "No," I agreed. "But I know what it costs to carry it." Silence. Then she straightened, towering over me again, and I realized the entire room was holding its breath. My daughter, the queen said, her voice louder now, believes that humans are prey animals. She believes that we should not negotiate with them. She believes that strength is only measured in claws and carapace. She looked at me. Prove her wrong. My stomach dropped. How? She is behind you. In the shadows. She has been creeping closer since you entered. The queen's mandibles spread slightly, almost like a smile. She wants to test you. She wants to see if you will run. I felt the weight of eyes on my back. Young eyes. Watching. Judging. What do you want me to do? I asked. Survive her curiosity, the queen said. Without running. Without screaming. Show her that humans are more than soft flesh and empty words. I heard the faint scrape of claws on stone behind me. Close. Too close. And if I fail? Then my daughter learns that her instincts were correct, the queen said calmly. And your people will leave this world without an alliance. The scraping sound stopped. I felt something brush against my shoulder, light as air, sharp as glass. A claw. Testing. Waiting. I didn't move. The queen watched me with something I couldn't name in her eyes. Not pity. Not amusement. Something older. Something harder. Turn around, she said. I turned. The princess was half her mother's size, but still tall enough to loom over me. Her exoskeleton was a lighter gray, not yet fully hardened, and her eyes were wide with curiosity and hunger. She held one claw raised, the tip resting against the collar of my shirt, and I could feel the pressure of it through the fabric. One twitch and she'd sliced through to bone. She clicked softly, a questioning sound. I looked at her and forced myself to breathe. Hello. Her head tilted. The claw pressed slightly harder. Your mother says you've never seen a human before, I said, keeping my voice steady. Is that true? Another click. Her mandibles opened slightly. I've never seen a Chthorian princess before today either, I continued. I was nervous. I still am. But your mother is right. Strength isn't just about who has the sharpest claws. I met her eyes. It's about who knows when not to use them. The claw lingered for one more second. Then it withdrew. The princess stepped back, her posture shifting, and she looked up at her mother. She clicked rapidly, a stream of sounds I couldn't fully parse, but I caught the tone. Surprise. Maybe respect? Queen Veshkara's mandibles spread wider. She clicked back, short and sharp, and the princess bowed her head before retreating to the shadows. The queen looked at me. You did not run. No. You did not beg. No. You spoke to her as if she were an equal. I hesitated. She is just younger. The queen studied me for a long moment. Then she turned and walked back to her throne. When she sat, she gestured to one of her warriors, who stepped forward carrying a small carved stone tablet. Your trade proposal is accepted, she said. But you will remain here as the primary liaison, not your ambassador. You? I blinked. Me? My daughter has decided that humans are interesting, the queen said. She will want to speak with you again, and I will want to see if your words about strength hold true when tested by more than a child's curiosity. Your Majesty, this is not a request. Her voice was iron. You praise my strength. Now I will see yours. I bowed, because there was nothing else to do. As I left the throne room, I felt the princess's eyes on me from the upper gallery, watching, waiting. And I knew that whatever test the queen had in mind, it was only beginning. The human delegation was waiting in the outer courtyard when I emerged. They crowded around me, demanding answers, asking what had happened, why I'd been inside for so long. I gave them the short version. Trade accepted. New terms. I was staying. Staying? The deputy ambassador, a sharp-eyed woman named Caro, stared at me. For how long? She didn't say. And you agreed? I didn't have a choice. Caro's jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. She knew as well as I did that refusing a Chthorian queen's command was the same as declaring war. That night, I was given quarters in the palace's east wing, a sparse room with stone walls, and a narrow window overlooking the city. The Chthorian capital sprawled below, all sharp angles and glowing veins of bioluminescent fungus, beautiful and alien and deeply unsettling. I didn't sleep. Every shadow felt like it was moving. Every sound outside the door made my pulse spike. I kept thinking about the princess's claw against my throat, the weight of it, the precision. She could have killed me without effort. She'd chosen not to. Why? The answer came at dawn, when a guard arrived at my door and gestured for me to follow. No explanation. No warning. Just a silent escort through twisting corridors until we reached a smaller chamber, circular and open to the sky. The queen stood at the center, alone. "You will train with my daughter today," she said without preamble. I stared. Train? She is learning combat, strategy, diplomacy. You will be part of her education. Your Majesty, I'm not a soldier. I'm a linguist. You are human, she interrupted. That is enough. She must learn how to read your species, how to predict your actions, how to exploit your weaknesses. Her eyes gleamed. And you will learn the same about us. The princess emerged from a side entrance, moving with the fluid grace of a predator. She clicked a greeting, and I clicked back, fumbling the pronunciation. She tilted her head, amused. The queen gestured to the center of the room. Begin. I looked between them. Begin what? Sparring, the queen said. No weapons. No killing strikes. First blood or submission. My stomach turned. She'll tear me apart. Perhaps. The queen's mandibles twitched. Or perhaps you will surprise us again. The princess stepped forward, lowering into a ready stance, her claws flexing. I backed up instinctively, and she chittered, a sound like laughter. I forced myself to think. She was faster, stronger, better armored. But she was also young, untested, and I'd spent 3 years studying Chthorian physiology. I knew where the joints were weakest, where the exoskeleton had gaps. She lunged. I dropped and rolled left, narrowly avoiding her claws. She spun, faster than I expected, and swiped again. I blocked with my forearm and felt the impact rattle through my bones. Pain flared, but nothing broke. She pulled back, surprised. I scrambled to my feet, breathing hard. Good, the queen said from the edge of the room. Again. We circled each other. The princess clicked softly, testing, and I realized she was trying to provoke me. Make me attack first. I stayed defensive, watching her posture, waiting for an opening. She feinted left, then struck right. I twisted, caught her wrist, and used her momentum to pull her off balance. For half a second, I had leverage. Then she twisted, her secondary arms grabbing my shoulders, and slammed me to the ground. The air left my lungs in a rush. Her claw hovered over my chest, razor sharp, and I froze. Yield? She clicked in Chthorian. I looked up at her. Yield. She stepped back, chittering again. The queen approached, her expression unreadable. You lasted 18 seconds longer than I expected, she said. Tomorrow, you will last longer. I sat up, ribs aching. Tomorrow? Every morning. Until she stops learning from you. Or until you stop surviving. The queen turned away. Rest. Eat. Prepare. The princess offered me a claw. I stared at it, then took it, and she pulled me to my feet with surprising gentleness. She clicked something I didn't catch, then left. I stood alone in the chamber, shaking, and realized that I'd just agreed to become a living training dummy for an alien princess who could kill me by accident. The days blurred together. Every morning, I sparred with the princess. Every afternoon, I sat in strategy sessions with Chthorian commanders, translating human tactics into their frameworks, learning theirs in return. Every evening, the queen summoned me to her private study and asked questions about humanity, about Earth, about why we fought wars over ideas instead of territory. I answered honestly, even when the truth made us look weak. Especially then, because I had learned that the queen valued honesty over strength, and understanding over victory. The princess improved rapidly. By the second week, I could barely last 30 seconds. By the third, she was teaching me Chthorian grappling techniques, clicking encouragement when I got something right, chittering mockery when I failed. I started to understand her humor, her curiosity, the way she tested boundaries not out of cruelty, but out of a desperate need to know how the world worked. One evening, after a particularly brutal session, she sat beside me in the recovery chamber and clicked a question. "Why do humans break so easily?" I looked at her. "Because we're not built for fighting." "Then, why do you fight?" "Because sometimes the things worth protecting are more fragile than we are." She went silent. Then she clicked again, softer. "My mother says you are strange. That you speak like a poet but think like a soldier." "I'm neither," I said. "Then what are you?" I thought about it. "Someone trying not to get anyone killed." She chittered, amused. "You are bad at it." "I know." The door opened, and the queen entered. The princess stood immediately, bowing. I tried to stand and winced, my ribs protesting. The queen waved me down. "Stay. I have news." I braced myself. "The council has reviewed the trade agreement," she said. "They have concerns. They believe humanity is too unstable, too fractured. They do not trust your species to honor long-term commitments." My chest tightened. "What does that mean?" "It means they want proof. A demonstration of human reliability. A gesture of trust." She paused. "They want you to accompany my daughter on a diplomatic mission to the outer colonies." "Alone?" I stared. "Alone?" "No guards. No escort. Just you and her. She will represent my authority. You will represent humanity's commitment to this alliance." The queen's eyes locked onto mine. "If you succeed, the council will approve the agreement. If you fail, it ends here." "What's the mission?" "Negotiating a territorial dispute between two colony factions. It has been escalating for months. If it turns violent, it will destabilize the entire region." She leaned forward. "My daughter has never led a negotiation. She has never been responsible for preventing a war. This will be her first test. And yours." The princess looked at me, her posture tense, expectant. I forced myself to nod. "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow at dawn." The queen stood, and the princess followed. At the door, the queen paused. "Do not let her die," she said quietly. "If you do, I will consider it an act of war." Then she was gone, and I was alone with the weight of that promise pressing down on my chest like a stone. The transport ship was small, cramped, and filled with the low hum of Chthorian engines. The princess sat across from me, her posture rigid, her eyes fixed on the viewport. We'd been traveling for 6 hours, and she hadn't spoken once. I broke the silence. "Are you nervous?" She clicked sharply. "No. It's okay if you are. I am not. I let it drop. But I could see the tension in her mandibles, the way her claws kept flexing and relaxing. She was terrified. Your mother trusts you, I said. My mother sent me with a human. Her tone was bitter. That is not trust. That is a test. Maybe it's both. She finally looked at me. Do you think I will fail? I think you're smarter than most of the diplomats I've met, I said honestly. And I think you care about getting this right. That's more than half the battle. Her mandibles twitched. And the other half? Not getting killed. She chittered despite herself. Then the humor faded. What if I make the wrong choice? What if I say the wrong thing and people die? I leaned forward. Then you'll learn from it. And you'll do better next time. There may not be a next time. Then you make this one count. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she nodded, slow and deliberate. The colony was a mess. Prefabricated structures clustered around mining operations, overcrowded and under-resourced, with two rival factions claiming the same mineral-rich territory. The moment we landed, I could feel the hostility radiating from both sides. The princess walked into the negotiation chamber with her head high, her posture regal, every inch her mother's daughter. I stayed 2 steps behind, watching, listening, ready to intervene if needed. The faction leaders were aggressive, shouting over each other, refusing to yield ground. The princess let them argue for 10 minutes without interrupting. Then she slammed one claw against the table, and the room went silent. Enough, she said. You both want the same thing. Resources. Security. Survival. You are tearing each other apart over land that neither of you can hold alone. One leader bristled. We were here first. You were here first. The princess interrupted. Because the other faction was dying in a failed settlement 30 kilometers north. You are here now because they rebuilt and returned. Neither claim is stronger. Neither is weaker. You are equal. She leaned forward. So stop pretending this is about justice and start negotiating like adults. I blinked. She just insulted both of them. And somehow it worked. The leaders exchanged glances. Then, slowly, they started talking. Not shouting. Talking. The princess guided them through the details, offering compromises, pointing out shared benefits, refusing to let either side dominate the conversation. It took 8 hours. But by the end, they had an agreement. Territorial lines. Resource sharing. Mutual defense pacts. When we left, the colony was stable. Not perfect, but stable. On the transport back, the princess slumped in her seat, exhausted. I thought they would reject everything. You didn't give them a choice, I said. You framed it so that cooperation was the only logical option. My mother would have used force. Your mother would have done exactly what you did, I said. She just would have pretended it was her idea. The princess chittered, tired but pleased. You are strange, human. You've mentioned that. I think I am beginning to understand why my mother chose you. I raised an eyebrow. Why? Because you do not pretend to be strong. You are just steady. She looked at me. That is its own kind of strength. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just nodded. When we returned to the palace, the queen was waiting. The princess delivered her report with quiet confidence, and the queen listened without interrupting. When it was over, she dismissed her daughter and gestured for me to stay. The council has approved the agreement, she said. Your people will have their alliance. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. Do not thank me. You earned it. Both of you. She paused. My daughter speaks highly of you. She says you taught her that strength is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. She taught me the same thing, I said. The queen's mandibles spread and what I'd learned was approval. You will return to your people tomorrow. But you are welcome here, human. Always. I bowed. It's been an honor. As I turned to leave, I heard her click softly. One more thing. I looked back. My daughter asked if you would return to continue her training. The queen's eyes gleamed. I told her that was your choice, not mine. I thought about it. About the bruises, the exhaustion, the constant fear of making a fatal mistake. Then I thought about the princess's laughter, the way she'd grown over the weeks, the way she'd looked at me like I was more than just a fragile, breakable thing. I'll come back, I said. The queen nodded. Good. She would have been disappointed otherwise. I left the throne room and walked through the palace one last time, feeling the weight of what I'd just agreed to settle on my shoulders. Not a burden, a responsibility. And maybe, just maybe, that was its own kind of strength. 3/3